The Discovery. Captain Sarah Chen pressed her face against the cold window of her spaceship. Her breath made small clouds on the glass as she stared at something impossible. Floating in the dark space in front of her was a huge metal door. It was bigger than her entire ship. Strange patterns covered its surface, glowing softly like stars. "Captain, we're getting close to the coordinates," said Pilot Johnson from behind her. His voice was quiet, full of wonder. "I've never seen anything like this before." Sarah turned around to look at her crew. There were only 5 humans on this small exploration ship called the Hope. They had come to this dead star system following an old map they found on a destroyed alien ship. The map showed something important was hidden here, but Sarah never expected to find this. "Dr. Kim, what do you think?" Sarah asked the ship's scientist. Dr. Kim was a small woman with thick glasses who loved solving mysteries. Dr. Kim was already scanning the giant door with her instruments. Her eyes were wide with excitement. "Captain, this is incredible. My scanners show this door is over 10,000 years old, maybe even older." 10,000 years? Sarah walked closer to Dr. Kim's computer screen. The numbers made her head spin. "Are you sure?" "Very sure," Dr. Kim nodded quickly. "And Captain, there's something else. This door, it's not natural. Someone built it. Someone very advanced." Engineer Martinez, a big man with gentle eyes, looked up from his repair work. "Built it for what? Why put a giant door in the middle of empty space?" Before anyone could answer, their radio started making noise. A voice spoke in the common galactic language that all space travelers knew. "Unknown human ship. This is Commander Zeth of the Galactic Council. You must leave this area immediately." Sarah grabbed the radio. "This is Captain Chen of the human ship Hope. We're just exploring. We mean no harm." "Human?" The alien voice sounded surprised. "You said human? We did not know humans had reached this sector." "We're new to this part of space," Sarah replied. "What's wrong with being here?" There was a long pause. Then Commander Zeth spoke again, but his voice was different now, sadder. "Captain Chen, you are looking at the impossible lock. For 10,000 years, the greatest minds in our galaxy have tried to open that door. All have failed." Dr. Kim grabbed Sarah's arm. "Ask him what's inside." "Commander Zeth, what's behind the door?" Another pause. "We do not know for certain. Ancient records speak of great knowledge hidden inside. Technology that could heal dying worlds, weapons that could destroy star systems, power that could change everything." Sarah felt her heart beat faster. "And no one has ever opened it?" 47 different species have tried. Commander Zeth's voice was heavy with sadness. "The smartest scientists, the strongest warriors, the most advanced machines, all failed. The door remains sealed. Many believe it cannot be opened at all." Pilot Johnson whistled softly. 47 species. That's everyone in the galaxy except us." "Yes," came the reply. "Everyone except humans. Captain Chen, I must warn you. Many ships have been destroyed trying to force that door open. Others have been lost to madness staring at it too long. Please, for your safety, leave now." But Sarah couldn't look away from the door. Something about it called to her. The patterns on its surface seemed to move and dance when she wasn't looking directly at them. "What if we wanted to try?" Sarah asked. The radio was quiet for a long time. When Commander Zeth finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. "Captain, many have said those same words. The door has broken the hearts and minds of entire civilizations. Are you certain?" Sarah looked at her crew. Dr. Kim was bouncing with excitement. Martinez was nodding slowly. Johnson was already checking their ship's systems. Even young communications officer Lisa was leaning forward, eager to hear Sarah's answer. "Commander Zeth, humans are new to your galaxy. Maybe we see things differently than others." "Perhaps," the alien commander sighed. "Very well, but I must watch from a safe distance. When you fail like all the others, I will help rescue your crew." Sarah smiled, but something cold ran down her spine. 47 species had failed. What made humans think they could succeed? But as she looked at the door again, she noticed something strange. The patterns weren't just glowing anymore. They were pulsing, like a heartbeat. "Dr. Kim," Sarah said quietly, "are you recording this?" "Yes, Captain. Why?" "The door. It's different now. It's reacting to us being here." Dr. Kim checked her instruments and gasped. "Captain, you're right. The energy levels are changing. This has never happened before. Not in any of the records." Sarah stepped closer to the window. What made humans special? What could they do that 47 other species couldn't? As she watched, one of the patterns seemed to pulse brighter, as if it was looking right back at her. "Prepare the shuttle," Sarah said. "We're going to take a closer look." The failed attempts. Sarah's shuttle moved slowly toward the giant door. Behind her, the alien ship Void Hunter followed at a safe distance. Commander Zeth's voice crackled through the radio, filled with worry. "Captain Chen, I am sending you the historical records now. You must see what happened to others before you make the same mistakes." Dr. Kim's screen lit up with data. Her face went pale as she read. "Captain, this is horrible. The first species to try was the Corvani Empire. They were the most advanced civilization in the galaxy." "What happened to them?" Sarah asked, but she wasn't sure she wanted to know. "They brought their entire war fleet, 500 ships. Their plan was simple: blast the door open with pure force." Dr. Kim's voice shook. "They fired every weapon they had for 3 days straight. Planet-killer lasers, quantum bombs, reality-bending missiles." Martinez whistled low. "That should have destroyed anything." "It should have," Dr. Kim continued reading. "But the door absorbed every attack, all that energy, all that destruction. The door just ate it up and became stronger. Worse, the energy bounced back. It destroyed their entire fleet in seconds. 500 ships. Gone." Sarah felt cold. "How many people?" 50 million Corvani warriors died that day." Commander Zeth's voice came through the radio. "It was the greatest military disaster in galactic history. The Corvani Empire never recovered." But Dr. Kim was still reading. "Captain, there's more. The Ethereal Collective tried next. They were masters of psychic power." "Psychic power?" Johnson asked. "Like reading minds?" "Much more than that," Dr. Kim explained. "The Ethereals could move planets with their thoughts. They could bend space and time itself. 1,000 of their most powerful psychics joined minds and tried to simply will the door open." "And?" Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer wouldn't be good. "The door reflected their psychic energy back at them. All 1,000 Ethereals went insane instantly. They spent their last moments screaming about visions of the end of everything before their minds burned out completely." Sarah's hands were shaking now. This door wasn't just locked. It was dangerous, deadly. "Show me more," she whispered. The records kept coming. The Mechanoid Collective tried to cut through the door with molecular disruptors. The tools turned to dust the moment they touched the surface. The crystal singers tried to shatter it with harmonic resonance. Their songs turned into screams that killed half their choir. The shadow wraiths tried to phase through it. They got trapped between dimensions forever. "Captain," Commander Zeth's voice was barely audible. "In 3,000 years the attempts stopped. No one dared try anymore. The door became known as the Graveyard Gate, the place where hope goes to die." Dr. Kim looked up from her screen with tears in her eyes. "Sarah, maybe we should listen to them. This thing has killed millions of beings. Entire civilizations have fallen because of it." But Sarah was staring at the door through the shuttle window. As they got closer, she could see the patterns more clearly. They weren't random. They had purpose, meaning, and they were beautiful. "Dr. Kim, run a scan on those patterns, but don't use any active sensors, just passive observation." "Why passive only?" "Because," Sarah said quietly, "every species that failed tried to force their way in. They used power, violence, aggression. What if that's exactly what this door was designed to stop?" Dr. Kim ran the scan. Her eyes widened. "Captain, these patterns, they're not just decoration. They're moving, flowing like what? Like music. like a song that never ends. Sarah felt her heartbeat speed up. Music, art, beauty, all the things that made humans human, all the things that other species had forgotten in their rush for power and conquest. "Commander Zeth," Sarah called into the radio, "in all your records, did anyone ever try approaching the door with kindness instead of force?" Silence. Long, heavy silence. Finally, Commander Zeth spoke, and his voice was confused. "Kindness? Captain Chen, I do not understand. This is an ancient vault containing unimaginable power. Why would kindness matter?" Sarah smiled, but it was a sad smile. "Commander, that might be exactly why 47 species failed." As their shuttle drew closer to the door, something incredible happened. The patterns began to pulse brighter, not with anger or warning, but with something that looked almost like hope. "Captain," Dr. Kim whispered, "the door's energy signature is changing again. It's not preparing to attack us. It's welcoming us." Sarah pressed her hand against the shuttle window. "Get us closer. I want to touch that door." "Sarah, no!" Martinez grabbed her arm. "You saw what happened to everyone else." But Sarah gently pulled free. "Everyone else tried to take something from the door. What if we try to give something instead?" As the shuttle approached the massive door, Sarah could swear she heard something impossible in the darkness of space, something that made her heart sing and her eyes fill with tears. She could hear music. The human approach. Sarah floated in the cold darkness of space, wearing only her spacesuit between her and the vast emptiness. Behind her visor, her eyes reflected the soft glow of the impossible door just arm's length away. The shuttle hung motionless nearby, with her terrified crew watching through the windows. "Sarah, please come back." Dr. Kim's voice crackled in her helmet radio. "Your life support only has 20 minutes left." But Sarah couldn't move. The door's patterns were singing to her, not with sound. Sound couldn't travel in space, but with something deeper, something that touched her soul. "Commander Zeth," Sarah whispered into her radio. "In all your records, did anyone ever come this close alone?" "No, Captain Chen." The alien commander's voice was tight with fear. "Every species brought armies, fleet, massive machines. No one ever came with just themselves." Sarah reached out her gloved hand toward the door. The patterns pulsed brighter, as if they could sense her approach. A voice. Soft. Ancient. Tired. Finally, someone who comes in peace. Sarah's heart stopped. Did everyone hear that?" "Hear what?" Dr. Kim asked. "Sarah, your radio is working fine, but we're not getting any other signals." The voice came again, but only Sarah could hear it. "For 10,000 years they came with weapons, with anger, with greed, all wanting to take, none wanting to give. But you came with only yourself." "Who are you?" Sarah whispered. "I am the guardian, the test maker, the one who waits for the worthy." Sarah looked back at her crew, then at Commander Zeth's distant ship. Millions of beings had died trying to open this door. Entire civilizations had fallen, all because they approached with force instead of friendship. "What kind of test?" Sarah asked. "The test is simple, human child. Show me not what your species can destroy, but what your species can create." Sarah's mind raced. Create? The Corvani had created the most powerful weapons in the galaxy. The ethereals had created psychic powers beyond imagination. What could humans create that was special? Then she remembered something. A memory from her childhood on Earth. Her grandmother teaching her an old song, a lullaby that her family had sung for generations. Sarah began to hum, just a simple melody that her grandmother used to sing when Sarah couldn't sleep. The tune was old, older than space travel, older than first contact with aliens. It was purely human. The door exploded with light. Not violent light, beautiful light. The patterns began to dance, flowing and spinning in harmony with Sarah's simple song. Colors that had no names painted the darkness around them. "What's happening?" Dr. Kim's voice was full of wonder. "Sarah, the door it's responding to you." Sarah kept humming, and something magical happened. The melody seemed to awaken something in the door itself. New patterns appeared, weaving themselves into the song. The ancient metal began to sing back. Yes, the Guardian's voice was filled with joy. Music, art, beauty created not for conquest but for comfort, not for power, but for peace. This is what I have been waiting for. Sarah's crew could see the light show, but they couldn't hear the conversation. To them, their captain was just floating in space, humming an old Earth song, while an ancient alien door came alive around her. "Sarah," Johnson called out, "whatever you're doing, keep doing it. The door's starting to change." And it was changing. The massive surface was beginning to split down the middle, revealing the first glimpse of what lay inside. Not darkness, but warm, welcoming light. But then Sarah heard something else. Warning alarms from other ships approaching fast. "Captain Chen," Commander Zeth's voice was panicked. "3 Corvani warships are approaching. They detected the door's activation. They think you're stealing their rightful treasure." Sarah saw the ships on the horizon. Massive, bristling with weapons that had failed once before, but had grown more powerful in the centuries since. "The violent ones return," the Guardian said sadly. "They will try to stop you, to claim what they think they deserve. But the test is not complete. You must continue the song, no matter what happens." Sarah looked at the approaching warships, then at her tiny crew in their small shuttle. 3 massive alien battleships against 5 humans in a glorified science vessel. "Dr. Kim, Martinez, Johnson, Lisa," Sarah called to her crew. "I need you to do something crazy. I need you to come out here with me. I need you to help me sing." "Sarah, those ships will be here in 3 minutes. Dr. Kim protested. "Their weapons could vaporize us." "Trust me," Sarah said, still humming her grandmother's lullaby. "The Guardian is right. Humans don't win through violence. We win through something else, something no other species has." "What's that?" Martinez asked. Sarah smiled as the first Corvani ship opened fire, sending a blast of pure energy racing toward them. But she wasn't afraid anymore. We win through hope. The breakthrough. The Corvani energy blast screamed through space towards Sarah and her crew. Death was coming at the speed of light, unstoppable, inevitable. Sarah closed her eyes and kept singing her grandmother's lullaby. But the blast never reached them. When Sarah opened her eyes, she saw something impossible. The ancient door had extended a shimmering energy shield around them, absorbing the deadly attack like it was nothing more than sunlight. "Continue the song, brave ones," the Guardian's voice whispered in Sarah's mind. "Do not let their violence silence your music." The Corvani commander's voice roared across all radio channels. "Impossible! Our quantum disruptors can crack planets in half. How is that primitive human still alive?" Dr. Kim floated out of the shuttle, tears streaming down her face inside her helmet. "Sarah, I don't understand what's happening, but I trust you." She began to hum along with Sarah's melody, adding her own harmony. Then Martinez emerged, his deep voice joining the song like rolling thunder. Johnson followed, whistling a counter-melody that made the patterns on the door spin faster. Even young Lisa came out, her sweet voice adding a high harmony that made the ancient metal sing with joy. 5 humans, 5 voices, 1 simple earth lullaby sung in the darkness between stars. The door began to open, not slowly, not reluctantly, but eagerly, like a flower blooming toward sunlight. Ancient mechanisms that had been sealed for 10,000 years awakened with purpose. Light poured from the growing opening, but it wasn't harsh or blinding. It was warm, welcoming, alive. "Fire everything!" the Corvani commander screamed. "All weapons, maximum power. Kill them before they claim our prize." 3 massive warships unleashed hell itself. Planet-killing lasers, reality-bending missiles, quantum bombs that could erase matter from existence. Everything that had made the Corvani Empire fear the galaxy for centuries. But every attack was absorbed by the door's shield. Worse, the shield was growing stronger with each blast, feeding on the violence like a plant feeds on rain. "Do you see?" the Guardian asked Sarah. "Violence only makes the barrier stronger, but your music, your hope, that opens everything." Sarah's crew kept singing, but now something magical was happening. Their voices weren't just human anymore. Somehow, impossibly, they could hear the voices of others joining them. Commander Zeth's voice came through the radio, but he wasn't speaking. He was humming. I don't know why, but I feel compelled to sing with you." Then other ships began appearing, not warships, but exploration vessels, science ships, refugee transports, dozens of different alien species, all drawn by something they couldn't name, and they were all singing. The ethereal survivors, their minds broken by their first attempt on the door, suddenly found their sanity returning as they added their psychic harmonies to the human song. The crystal singers, thought dead for millennia, emerged from hidden colonies to lend their voices. Even the shadow wraiths phased back into reality, their whispered melodies joining the cosmic chorus. "What is this madness?" the Corvani commander demanded, but Sarah could hear something in his voice. Fear, yes, but also longing. The door was fully open now, revealing not treasure or weapons, but something far more precious. Inside was a garden, a living, breathing ecosystem floating in space with plants and animals from 1,000 worlds living in perfect harmony. "This is the true prize," the Guardian explained. "Not power to destroy, but wisdom to create. Not weapons of war, but seeds of peace." Commander Zeth's voice came through the radio, but he wasn't speaking. He was humming. I don't know why, but I feel compelled to sing with you." Then other ships began appearing, not warships, but exploration vessels, science ships, refugee transports, dozens of different alien species, all drawn by something they couldn't name, and they were all singing. The ethereal survivors, their minds broken by their first attempt on the door, suddenly found their sanity returning as they added their psychic harmonies to the human song. The crystal singers, thought dead for millennia, emerged from hidden colonies to lend their voices. Even the shadow wraiths phased back into reality, their whispered melodies joining the cosmic chorus. "What is this madness?" the Corvani commander demanded, but Sarah could hear something in his voice. Fear, yes, but also longing. The door was fully open now, revealing not treasure or weapons, but something far more precious. Inside was a garden, a living, breathing ecosystem floating in space, with plants and animals from 1,000 worlds living in perfect harmony. "This is the true prize," the Guardian explained. "Not power to destroy, but wisdom to create. Not weapons of war, but seeds of peace." But the most incredible thing was what happened next. As the garden's light touched the singing ships, something began to change in their crews. Old wounds healed, ancient hatreds melted away. Species that had been enemies for generations suddenly saw each other not as threats, but as fellow travelers in the dark. Even the Corvani soldiers stopped firing, their weapons powered down not because they were ordered to, but because they no longer wanted to fight. "Captain," one of the Corvani officers whispered to his commander, I remember why we first went to space. It wasn't to conquer, it was to explore, to find beauty among the stars." The commander's voice cracked. "Yes, I remember too. How did we forget?" Sarah floated closer to the garden, still humming. Inside she could see pathways made of light, trees that sang in colors, flowers that bloomed with the sound of laughter. And waiting for them in the center was a figure, not alien, not human, but something beyond both. The Guardian itself. "Welcome, children of hope," it said, and now everyone could hear it. "Welcome to the Garden of Tomorrow. Here, you will learn not how to take from the universe, but how to give to it." Dr. Kim gasped. "Sarah, look at the other side." Sarah turned and saw something that made her heart race with excitement and terror. On the far side of the garden was another door, and another beyond that, and another. A chain of doors stretching into infinity, each one waiting for the next test, the next song, the next species ready to choose creation over destruction. But as Sarah stared at the endless chain of possibilities, alarms began sounding from every ship. Not attack alarms, something worse. "Captain Chen," Commander Zeth's voice was filled with panic. "We're detecting massive gravitational distortions. Something is coming through hyperspace, something enormous." On the edge of space, reality began to tear open. Through the wound in the universe came a ship so large it blotted out the stars. A ship that had been sleeping in the dark spaces between galaxies, waiting for this moment. The ship of the Devourers, the ancient enemy that the Guardian had been preparing the galaxy to face. "They felt the door open," the Guardian said, its voice now urgent. "They know the test is complete. They come to destroy everything we have built." Sarah looked at her crew, at the peaceful garden, at the dozens of species who had just learned to sing together instead of fight. "How long do we have?" she asked. 12 minutes before they reach us. 12 minutes to decide if the galaxy is ready for its final test. Sarah smiled, but it was the smile of someone who had found something worth dying for. The final test. The Devourer ship broke through reality like a nightmare becoming real. It was impossibly huge, larger than moons, darker than the space between stars. Where it moved, light itself died. Planets in distant systems began to wither and crack just from its presence. Sarah floated before the Garden of Tomorrow, watching death approach. Around her, hundreds of ships from dozens of species had formed a protective circle, but their weapons were useless. The Devourers had destroyed entire galaxies. What could a few scattered ships do? 11 minutes, Commander Zeth announced, his voice hollow with despair. "Listen carefully, all of you." The Guardian's voice reached every mind at once. "The Devourers are not evil. They are something worse. They are empty. They consume not from hunger, but from an endless void inside them that can never be filled." Dr. Kim checked her scanners, her face pale. "Sarah, that ship, it's not made of metal or energy. It's made of collapsed space-time itself. How do you fight something that shouldn't exist?" Sarah looked at the garden behind her, then at the approaching void. "Guardian, what exactly did you prepare us for? The Devourers were once like you, creators, dreamers, singers, but they lost something precious. They lost the ability to hope. Now they exist only to make others as empty as themselves." The massive ship was getting closer. Sarah could see things moving on its surface, not machines, but creatures of living darkness that fed on joy and turned it into despair. 10 minutes, Johnson whispered. Then Sarah heard something that made her blood freeze. Singing. The Devourer ship was singing too, but its song was horrible. A melody of endings, a harmony of hopelessness that made everyone who heard it want to give up forever. One by one, the alien ships began to go silent. Their crews fell into despair, their weapons powering down, their lights dimming. "It's over," Commander Zeth said, his voice dead. "Why did we ever think we could fight this?" But Sarah felt something different. As the Devourer song washed over her, instead of despair, she felt anger. Not rage, but the clean, bright anger of someone who sees something beautiful being destroyed. "No," she said firmly. "Guardian, you said they lost the ability to hope. But hope isn't something you lose, it's something you choose." "What do you mean, brave one?" Sarah turned to her crew, to the hundreds of ships around them. "Everyone listen to me. That song they're singing, it's not true. It's trying to make us forget who we are, what we can create together." She began to sing again, but this time it wasn't her grandmother's lullaby. It was something new, something she created in that moment. A song of defiance, of life refusing to surrender to death. "Sarah," Dr. Kim gasped, "look at your hands." Sarah looked down and saw light flowing from her fingers, from her heart, from every note she sang. The same light that lived in the garden was growing inside her. 9 minutes, Martinez said, but now his voice had strength in it. "Sarah, whatever you're doing, it's working. The despair song is getting weaker. One by one, Sarah's crew joined her new song, then Commander Zeth's ship, then the Crystal Singers, the Ethereals, even the reformed Corvani warriors. But this time, their voices carried something new, not just hope, but the power to give hope to others. The garden of tomorrow began to glow brighter, not just with light, but with pure possibility, the raw stuff that dreams are made of. Impossible, the Guardian breathed. You're not just resisting them, you're healing them. Because that's what was happening. As the united song of the galaxy reached the Devourer ship, the creatures of darkness on its surface began to remember what they had lost. Some fell to their knees. Others began to weep tears of light. 8 minutes, Lisa called out, but she was smiling now. The Devourer ship is slowing down. Inside the massive vessel, something incredible was happening. The Devourers themselves, ancient beings who had forgotten their own names, were beginning to remember. They remembered creating their first star. They remembered the first time they felt wonder. They remembered what it was like to hope. But their ship was too damaged, too consumed by emptiness. Even as their hearts began to heal, their vessel was falling apart around them. "Sarah," Dr. Kim shouted, "the ship is going to collapse. When something that massive implodes, it'll create a black hole that will destroy half the galaxy." 7 minutes to implosion, Commander Zeth announced. Sarah looked at the garden, at all the ships around her, at the dying Devourers who were finally remembering how to feel. Then she made a choice that changed everything. Guardian, can the garden save them? The garden can heal anything, but only if freely given. To save beings that large, that broken, it would require everything. The garden would have to give all its light, all its power. It would die to give them life. Sarah smiled. That sounds very human to me. She flew toward the garden's center where the Guardian waited. Around her she could hear the voices of every species in the galaxy, all singing together, not just in harmony but in love. "We choose to give everything," Sarah said, "not because we have to, but because that's what hope does. It gives itself away and somehow grows stronger." "Are you certain? Your species has just learned to reach the stars. You could explore, create, become anything you dream of." "We will," Sarah replied. "But first, we're going to save some ancient enemies who forgot how to save themselves." The Guardian smiled. The first time it had smiled in 10,000 years. "Then you are truly ready for what comes next." The garden of tomorrow exploded with light. Not destructive. Light, but creative light. Light that reached across space and wrapped around the dying Devourer ship like a gentle embrace. The creatures of darkness became creatures of dawn. The ship of endings became a ship of beginnings. And something miraculous happened. As the Devourers remembered how to hope, their ship transformed. Instead of collapsing into a black hole, it bloomed like a flower made of stars. New worlds formed around it. New life began. "Sarah," Dr. Kim whispered in wonder, "the garden. It's not gone. It's everywhere now. Every planet, every ship, every heart that chooses hope over despair." Sarah floated in space, watching former enemies become new friends, watching death become birth, watching endings become beginnings. "The first test is complete," the Guardian said. "But there are other galaxies, other species who have forgotten how to hope. Will you help them remember?" Sarah looked at her crew, at the united fleet of former enemies, at the reborn Devourers who were already sharing their ancient wisdom with anyone who wanted to learn. "Commander Zeth," she called over the radio, "how many other doors did you say there were?" "The scanners show thousands, maybe millions, stretching across the entire universe." Sarah grinned. "Looks like we're going to need a bigger choir."